Hello, I'm Lizzie and this is Lizzie Reads, and welcome to my 2020 reading review. This is going to be a really quick and to the point video where I just talk about my reading in the last year, how I feel it went, and also my goals that I started at the beginning of the year and whether some of my goals I fulfilled, some of them I didn't, some of them I just filled a lot of my books with crap, so we'll get on to that. So first of all, I had a goal of reading 120 books, which I smashed. I read 140 books. Quite pleased with that. There are a few reasons why I think I read so many books. Reasons I don't want to repeat in the year going forwards, but I will talk about that now. We're gonna talk about it now. I decided. So I read a whole graphic novel series called Giant Days, which I really did enjoy. There was about 13, so that's 13 books straight up there, which I really loved. I really enjoyed, but that took a whole load of book. I obviously read about 20 odd picture books, Christmas picture books, which I do really enjoy, but you've got to factor that in when you think about how many books I read. Also, I reread the whole Princess Diary series, which I love. I love the Princess Diary series. It was very cathartic for me. I really enjoyed it, especially during sort of that period of lockdown. It was a great relief to me. Those were really enjoyable, so I read all of those again, and I also reread the whole of the Harry Potter series back in April and May, which again I enjoyed at the time, but we're not going to talk about that anymore because we're not going to, it's a whole kettle of fish. But I read it earlier in the year. Also, just to note, I 100% think J.K. Rowling is a fucking arsehole and she's a TERF, okay? We don't stand for those views here, but Harry Potter has been part of my life for a long time, and I did read it earlier in this year. So that's another seven books. So I read quite a few books. Let me just quickly calculate it. So we're going to so I read about 46, and this is a real approximate figure, but definitely around, I read about 50 books this year that I consider to be quite filler, in terms of a huge graphic novel series that I binged, and I kind of see them all as one. So even though I read them each individually and I listed them all individually, I blend them all as one. Princess Diaries, Harry Potter, like reread, and then also my Christmas picture books, which comes to about 50 books, which is humongous. So really I read 90 books, but then also I did read other graphic novels, I read other short books, I listened to a lot of audiobooks. It was very they all sort of bleed into one, and a lot of them don't stand out individually. So that's why when I say I read 140 books, it's amazing. It was amazing, but there was a lot of filler in there, or books that blend into one. So I had the also goal to DNF more. I DNF 3 books, which is probably more than what I DNF the previous year, so that is good. Not enough, definitely not enough. There's definitely some more books I could have DNF'd this year. I talked about this in my worst book of the year, well, my books I didn't get on with this year video, which I will link down below. I also wanted to crack down on reading proofs because I had built up a lot of proofs from having my first year my first year and a bit working in the book industry, and I gathered a lot of proofs, and I gathered more because I was so excited to gather more than I could read, and I still have quite a lot. I read a fair few, but I still have a lot. I still have a lot to work on. But this isn't going to translate into my TBR for next year because I'm doing my TBR a bit differently this year, and I will have, or will, I don't know which will come first, talk about this in my 2021 goals video, which I will either link down below or this will precursor to. Also, I wanted to read more diversely, and in terms of reading diversely, I feel like I failed but also improved. I picked up a lot more interesting diverse books than I would have done in previous years. I noticed that my TBR is primarily white. The books I already own are primarily white and or non-diverse, or I just can't, from the descriptions the title and the author, I can't tell that they're particularly diverse. Obviously you might open a book and it has extreme amount of diversity, but it's just not labelled as much on the front. I don't know, but that's a stretch, I think, and I don't want to give myself that stretch. But I think I read about 30% people of colour authors. I think I read about 30% from books from people of colour. I read more, I think more like 40 something percent of my books I considered diverse. I did do this spreadsheet. Basically, I lost my reading spreadsheet, and I had to sort of redo it all about 3 weeks ago. And I did a very sort of general, what I could remember, like very, I didn't evaluate it after every book. So this is very general figures. I could have been kind to myself, I could have been a bit hard on myself, but we'll just go within like a 5% radius. Definitely think I didn't read enough by people of colour, but also just one thing to add is those 50 books that I read as filler, none of them would have been by people of colour, or they didn't have much diversity, because I don't think Princess Diaries has much diversity. It has interesting themes, and I like the way it talks about things, but it's not diverse at all. Neither is that series. The books by John Allinson, the Giant Day series, it has a variance in terms of sexuality, but it's not very diverse in other areas. It could definitely do better. Even though it was such a good series, I just think that would have made it elite if it was more diverse. And then my picture books, I don't think many of my picture books were mostly by white authors, and that is something that I want to look at more in my Christmas picture books next year. I don't want to be reading primarily white Christmas picture books. There are some that are my favourites, but there are more out there for me to find. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is I think I did better, but when I look at the figures, I feel disappointed in myself because of these filler. I think these filler books really bring it down. And I feel like I didn't read as much diversity as I wanted to. I did read a lot more, and I found a lot more diverse books out this year, obviously because of the second wave of the Black Lives Matter movement, and obviously with George Floyd's death and Breonna Taylor's death and all the other horrific deaths in America and across the world, that has brought this to our attention more. I have discovered a lot more books that I want to read, and I have read a lot more books. I've read quite a lot of interesting memoirs actually, and I read quite a lot of interesting memoirs. How We Fight for Our Lives by Saeed Jones, What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Blacker by Damon Young, I believe. They're some of my favourites that I read this year. I definitely enjoyed more, and I found more books that I don't see to be talked about, and I found that better, but I just think I drowned it out with a lot of other books. I drowned it out with my reread. Then lastly, I wanted to read more fantasy. Did I read more fantasy? No, I didn't. I feel like I read less fantasy, and all I wanted to read all year was fantasy. I didn't read a lot of fantasy. All I wanted to read was fantasy, but I didn't read it. So no, I didn't achieve that at all. And at the end of the video, I actually said, oh, something I'm going to do now is talk about my currently reading at the end of each video. And then I didn't film anything for months and months and months on end. By the time I filmed something again, I'd completely forgotten about it, because I was no longer then doing this currently reading thing, and I'm not going to keep it up because actually I don't like it. I don't know what I was thinking. But overall, I feel like I read some really good books this year. I feel like I read a lot of filler books and a lot of okay books. And I think I really took up the year with comfort rereads and things like that. So I'd like to remove the comfort reread. Obviously I like to reread, I'm a massive rereader, but I think this year if I'm going to do some rereading, I might do some rereading of like standalone books or things like that, and look at those individually, but also just make sure that the books that I'm reading, because there are so many books out there that I want to read that are more diverse, but in all this is the thing as well, like I don't want to just measure my diversity in like one particular angle. So I want to take all levels of diversity and read some more in those areas that I haven't even touched. The portal and the pages spreadsheet is going to be really useful to me for that, so I am really excited to get cracking with that. and just continue what I was sort of doing, amp it up a level and take out the filler. That's what, spoilers for 2021 goals, but that's what's going to be going on. So thank you for watching this video. If let me know how you felt your reading year went. If you read lots of good books or okay books or bad books, just let me know. And if you want to chat about my aims to read more diversely and anything like that, please just chat to me in the comments and I will get back to you. I don't know why I started doing my hair and talking at the same time, but that is what we are going with. Thank you so much for watching this video and I will talk to you soon.